towards the end of February. We are all very cold. Richard is in Oklahoma with his jacket on, and I am in California with sweater on. It snowed this morning in California. Yes, it did. And Nathan is in not far from me, about 2 hours south of me in Los Angeles, and he said he's freezing as well. So you'll have to bear with us tonight. But what we hope to bring to you is uh, a little bit of warmth, a little bit of cozy, come by the fire and heat up those toes and fingers because we want to get right into marketing and branding and leveraging your presence on the internet via social media and via projects. And this is the area that Nathan Klingseis, my guest tonight, is a specialist in. And Nathan, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here.
I love your background. You look like you're in the clouds. They're actually hexagonal stickers on the wall, but they look like they're cloud material.
They
So
are.
tell me a little bit about why it is that Richard and I, who are two of the brightest minds that I know, will never truly understand the metaverse. Why is that?
Yeah, we were, it's funny you asked that. I just was talking to some people about this. And in fact, I had a post on LinkedIn yesterday about this. Um, but nobody can really ever say they fully understand the metaverse because, and maybe that's even better to say the metaverse and Web 3.0 as a whole, right? And all the things in the blockchain and things coming. Um, it's interesting to me that things move at such a pace that once you finally learn something, everything is completely changed 10 minutes later, right? And you could try to learn NFTs, you can try to learn blockchain, you can try to learn crypto. Well, the way that these new smart contracts are being developed, the way that the space is, every single day there's new innovations that are being created and made. And so things move almost too fast for us to keep up with. Um, and yeah.
Things are moving
It's
so
also
fast. Mm.
it's
Do you
also
think we'll?
strange how they suddenly diverge as well. Sorry, Shauna.
That's right.
It's
No.
strange how these rabbit holes diverge. Like you'll start down one rabbit hole, you start down the rabbit hole of NFTs, and then you'll next thing you know, you're playing Pokemon for money. It's the
Yes.
weirdest thing.
But here's
No,
the thing:
definitely.
if we ever get to a point where we're leveling out, life is going to be quite boring, isn't it? Because now today, when I go on LinkedIn feed and I see the multitude of technological developments, it's sometimes overwhelming, but it's also very engaging. And I think if I experienced that same scroll without that technological development, I would sort of feel like life had suddenly become kind of empty. The space was there that didn't exist before. Do you think we'll ever get to a point where the growth and the developments and the new applications will level out for us?
I think that there's going to come a time when quote unquote growth and application becomes simpler. And that's when I think that there will be a mass adoption of the technology. When things are so simple that we're all able to understand really quickly, right, what's happening and going on in the space. Part of that has to do with the education side of things, right? I think that there needs to be a larger push and mass understanding on the education side of things about what's actually going on in the space. But on the other side of things, I don't necessarily think that means that there's a leveling out and completing of, it's not going to grow stagnant. There's not a way for it to really grow stagnant. I think that things move and continue to move. And you see that time and time again with all technologies, right? If we talk about Web 2.0 as a specific example of that, or the internet, the dot-com boom, all of that stuff, there was a huge change and huge speed at which things continue to get innovated until maybe the masses caught up, right? And we all were able to understand. And now, I have my grandmother who's able to use PayPal and a pay processor on her phone from her own home. And so now there's mass adoption, but that didn't mean that there was a stop in the innovation going on, right? And so that's kind of what excites me about the space, really, is I think that this is a opportunity for a large and growing group of innovation and creatives to come into the space and keep innovating.
So, Nathan, I'm always surprised at what brings people into this space. If you're helping others market and brand and strategically position, tell us a little bit about how you yourself came to this world, what brought you here, and where you see your own career going as things develop. I'm curious about that. And
Yeah,
maybe,
definitely. So
you're doing such a great job already. Let me just interject. Maybe we could, Richard, maybe we could move Nathan. We'll promote him to the big spot and put me down back in the little spot where I belong. We like you so much, Nathan. You've been promoted. Okay, thank you,
thank you.
Richard. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to this space, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so we'll get to the NFT background and the metaverse background in a second, but really my background is in digital marketing. I've spent the past couple of years kind of jumping from freelance graphic design work, which, as you can imagine, translates really well into the NFT metaverse space, over to social media growth, digital ads, SEO, kind of the whole, they say the jack of all trades kind of marketer type person. That was what I was at a lot of companies. I kind of moved from place to place. I got into apparel. I got into operations for a while. And in fact, I also was a member of a few accelerators in Europe, and those which are called the European Innovation Academy. And so some people might know what that is, but I did a few of those, and really I had always gravitated towards that marketing sector of things and what's kind of going on in that space, but really around the more creative side of things. I'm not a huge, and don't get me wrong, data is a massive part of what I do, but I lean heavier towards maybe the creative thinking and ideation phase of things. And that's kind of how I got into what I do. And in fact, a few months ago, I launched my own digital marketing agency, where we were working with a lot of clients and developing projects and products. And that shifted drastically into this NFT metaverse space in the past couple of months. Part of that was we were getting questions about it. Richard and I had just kind of talking about the education side of things and how people need to be educated. And what happened was I ended up getting into conversations that were supposed to be about ROIs and KPIs and data and what's going on with my ads, somehow ended up shifting every single time over to, hey, what's this metaverse stuff about? And what are these NFTs about? And what's blockchain? And it really made us realize there's a severe lack of education in the space, and we could bridge that gap pretty easily. If you want to get back to my real roots in this, years and years and years ago, I was playing Minecraft as a little kid. And I had a couple friends at the age of like 14 who put me on to this interesting thing called Bitcoin. And they told me, hey, why don't you throw $100 at it? And so I did that. I threw $100 at Bitcoin. At the time, I probably bought like 40 or 50 Bitcoin, whatever it was, 10, 11 years ago. And I ended up selling that Bitcoin a few years later for about $8 each, because as a 16, 17-year-old, $800 or whatever it ended up coming out to is a lot of money. And so I sold that, and that was my really first introduction into crypto. I continued, obviously I'd made money there, and so I continued my path on the rabbit hole of what has now become known as the metaverse, but down blockchain and crypto. And in fact, I paid for part of my wedding last July with Dogecoin, ironically.
Congratulations.
And so thank you very much. And that kind of also converged with my path in my agency of, hey, I've got this background in crypto and NFTs. I purchased some of the first generation CryptoKitties way back in the day when I was younger, and recently recovered them from an old computer. They're now in my MetaMask wallet, but that took me a while to figure out. And now we're here today, and you know, I work with a lot of businesses trying to connect them to projects or to start their own projects and figure out ways to raise money for themselves.
Do you know, speaking of, financing things through cryptocurrency, which is a little off topic, but I have to throw it in there. Richard, I know of a fellow that lives his entire life off of cryptocurrency, does not use fiat for anything. Do you think that that is possible?
I definitely think that we're moving in that direction. Um, Personally, I think that, but I also think that, you know, if we're going to talk about DeFi, we have to talk about regulation and what that looks like going forward, right? And obviously, a lot of maybe the naysayers in the space are very worried, and maybe rightfully so in some ways, that there's a lot of regulation coming, right? And if we think about what that means going forward, right, we have to also think about, hey, how do I, as a company, do taxes if I'm only working in DeFi, right? If I'm only working in Ethereum, how do I pay my employees if I'm only paying them in Ethereum? How do I, how do I,
How do I hedge against the volatility?
exactly, exactly. And I think that it comes down to, you know, that might be a possibility going forward if we get to a more solid and stable currency. Maybe that's Solana, and you know, we can talk all day long about Solana and how. And if you haven't heard of Solana, it's just a Ethereum is able to make a certain amount of transactions per minute per second, which causes the gas fees, which are the transactional fees, to go through the roof sometimes, and sometimes they're really small. It's super volatile. You lose a lot of money in the process. Solana is a cryptocurrency that has unlimited transactions per second, which means there's not as much volatility there. There's another one called Cardona, same thing. Not a lot of volatility because they have more transactions per second. It's a more stable currency. And if you ask a lot of people in the space, I think that, especially in the NFT space, people are excited about Solana. People are excited about Cardona. There was a leak that OpenSea is integrating with Solana, right? And so there's a lot of bullish movement going in that direction.
Mm.
But do we get there with Ethereum? I don't know if there's a solid answer to that. That's all dependent on how much we can innovate on the smart contract side of things and how we can get things to be more stable and ready to go.
So you just brought up OpenSea and stability in the same context, which is always one of my fun things that I like to talk about, especially after what we've just seen this last weekend again with OpenSea. Do you see OpenSea's dominance continuing in this space, especially the NFTs?
You know, I think they are ahead of the game in a way where they can leverage themselves and continue to innovate very quickly. You know, there's always a benefit to being the first player in the game, right? Mm-hmm. You have the ability to lead the charge. There's also the damage, which we saw, as you alluded to this last weekend, where maybe you're getting too aggressive with that charge and you're making changes that potentially could be harmful, right? There were millions of dollars stolen within minutes this weekend on OpenSea, and there's no one to really answer for that, right? And you could say OpenSea can answer for that, but they're not going to step up and reimburse all that money, and you know, it left people high and dry, really. But what I will say is, you know, Wall Street just announced that they're going to compete, and I know that Wix is also attempting to compete in some way. I know that you know, there's Rarible on the market. There's Solana only places on the market. I'm wondering if, and maybe this just happens with time, and only time will tell, obviously. But you know, the problem right now that I have with OpenSea is you're taking an inherently decentralized system, which is crypto blockchain, and you are centralizing all of the activity on it around one platform. And the point is that we're supposed to be able to hold our NFTs in our wallets, have access to that NFT on maybe any NFT website, and able to view it, withdraw it, do whatever you need to on any site. Well, right now, OpenSea is the only place to do that. And so I'm wondering and hoping and praying that as these developers get more intelligent with the way they develop smart contracts, right? The things that we are integrating with, we need to have a more standardized, decentralized smart contract that's allowing me to view my NFTs anywhere. And right now we just don't have that. You can read the metadata and see that there's an NFT in there, but I can't actually view my NFT on any other website right now. And part of that has to do with it's centralized around one secondary sales market, which is OpenSea. So I do think we're going to move away from that because again, we're taking something that's meant to be decentralized and we're only using one platform for it. And I think there's a big problem with that. And so, we'll see as time goes, but right now, I think at least for the next probably 1 or 2 years, maybe even more than that, I think OpenSea is going to be the dominating force in the market. I think Rarible has a really good chance of passing them up if they can quickly innovate as fast as OpenSea is, especially when we're talking about integrating new chains into those contracts, into those systems. Whoever gets to Solana first is going to be it's going to be a big deal. It will be a very, very big deal. So
what do you think? I mean, I've been chatting with some artists and so on around about the idea of artists starting to have their own kind of minting platforms built into their own websites, that kind of idea of thing of actually, if we're going to decentralize this thing, as it becomes easier and easier for these platforms and minting things to be built, that artists are going to start owning their own minting platform to be able to completely govern their own process. Do you see that as a marketing agency person? Do you see that as being something that grows?
Yeah, I think that it is. Man, what's difficult about that is when we get into the individual artist making a minting platform and signing a contract and giving access to my wallet, you also open up the pot to scams and rug pulls. And if you're not aware of how
we're already exposed to that though.
Exactly. And I think that, and this is for everyone in the chat who might not be super adapt to the space yet, right? When you mint something on a website, you have to sign a contract, let's just call it terms of service, that allows that website to connect to your MetaMask wallet. It gets access to the code. Well, if you are not adept in reading code and reading contracts and understanding what's going on in the space, you very much could be signing a contract that says, in fact, I have an example of this. I had a friend a few days ago who signed a contract from a scam link, which, you never trust any links being sent to you through DM. That's just a rule of thumb. He signed a contract through scam link, and that contract, which looked like a real website, looked like a real minting website, basically transferred out any Ethereum that he put into his wallet. Anytime he hit 0.1 Ethereum, which I think right now is around $300 to $400, anytime he hit that number, it would automatically transfer his Ethereum out. He had all of his NFTs on that wallet. And so you can imagine with the way that gas fees are right now, we had to really work around that. We had to upload below 0.1 Ethereum, wait for gas fees to lower, transfer one NFT to a different wallet, right? We had to do it one at a time for all 20 NFTs he owned at the time. And so, you have to be really careful with that. And I think a part of that comes down to trusting official links, trusting official websites that have been verified, and really looking for projects that you trust. And, that's a whole nother rabbit hole we can even go down of how do you really find a project you trust? Who do you trust in this process? Because while Web3 and blockchain is all public domain, public, everything's out there in the open. I can see what's going on in your contract. I can see where your wallet's sending money. It's still anonymous. I don't know who's actually doing this, right? And so you can track back. You can try to track back those scam wallets, and I think you could have forensics wallet finders go in and cybersecurity go in and try to figure out who that person is. But there's not a real direct way to do that, right? And some of these wallets you can track back, and they've stolen millions, as we just alluded to about last weekend, right? And they're withdrawing it in USD. Well, right now, because there's no regulation, to the US government, to the Canadian government, to the UK government, that just looks like they just made a good investment and are pulling money out. And so no one can actually track who's scamming and who's doing what right now.
Well,
and so that's my work.
I need to interject there for a moment. It's true that it's really difficult to find those people. It's not an easy thing. But we have a couple of emerging professionals in the field that have excelled in cyber fraud, cyber risk, cyber mitigation. And if anyone out there who's listening tonight is a victim of the OpenSea rug pull or is a victim of cryptocurrency rug pull, please get a hold of us at Metaverse. I can't even speak, at Metaverse News Network. We have a wonderful partner, collaborator. His name is David Lutz. He's out of Long Island, New York. He's been in banking and finance for many, many years. This is his sole purpose in life, and he absolutely can and will recover your lost items. And not only that, but can and will track down who has been at the cause of that. So you're correct, absolutely, Nathan. I think overall, when we're speaking colloquially, these things don't really exist. They're not mainstream. It's very few and far between the people that have the requisite skill sets. But in this case, David Lutz absolutely does. And I want to just share with everybody that we do have that connection. Maybe this is a good point for me to interject on something you said just a few minutes ago, because I want to clarify this for anybody listening tonight. We were talking a little bit about your concept about, this decentralized environment, and how it's very, very true that when you go to mint an NFT, there is a contracting process there, a smart contracting process. But you said something that I don't think I've heard in any other sector from any other person. And so I'm wondering if this is a unique idea to you, or if this is something you've picked up somewhere else. And that's the idea of a standardized contract that would be available across the masses for everybody, that there would be a known language prerequisite of a standardized, formalized contract in this decentralized environment. Would you share more about what that might look like?
Yeah, definitely. I think, part of that might be personal hope and opinion, but I also think that there's a lot of validity in the fact that right now, every smart contract that is written a majority of the ones that are being written are open source, right? And so let's talk about a good project. And if you're in the chat and you don't know where to get started looking into projects, Azuki, azuki.com. That is probably in fact, it is the largest NFT project in the world right now. It just passed up Bored Ape Yacht Club in volume of sales over a 3-month period. They are innovating extremely quickly in the area of NFTs and experimenting with, throwing some words out there like fractionalization and DAOs and what it really means. How far can we push this? That's basically their goal. But what they have also done is they've developed a smart contract that they are trying to push out to as many other projects as possible. In fact, a lot of the issues with the other projects you've seen in the last couple of weeks have come out of this smart contract. But that's not to say it's not a good contract. It's called the ERC 721A. So it's not the normal 721 contract. It's a 721A contract. It's all open source. You can pull it. You can build on it yourself. It's fairly safe. And what it does is it is lowering gas fees in Ethereum by allowing us to mint multiple NFTs at once rather than, there's less transaction fee because I'm minting 10 NFTs at one time rather than having to mint them individually one at a time. that is what I'm talking about when I'm saying, we're moving towards a more standardized, all projects use this, all companies use this, all brands use this type contract. What's happening is, things are so collaborative right now. Projects collaborate with other projects. People inside of the communities are collaborating amongst themselves. We're collaborating with brands and businesses. We're collaborating with NGOs and artists and influencers. Well, that is also pushing over to our developers and the developers in the space. And so the goal would be to lift up everyone as a whole and every project as a whole to make a more safe environment. And part of that is, obviously holding people accountable, because we can see your smart contract and see what's being built on it, but also to hopefully distribute those improved contracts to other product owners. That way, when we're continuing to develop on the system, we're seeing that those contracts are going up. An example of this would be, if you ever try to, let's say that someone here comes across a ton of money, and is able to afford a CryptoPunk, right? You're going to go in there and you're going to try to purchase a CryptoPunk. Well, their smart contract was really intelligent then, but now it's a little bit outdated. And so you're going to see the difference between maybe purchasing let's say their cheapest CryptoPunk, which is, I don't know, it's worth like $80,000 or something like that right now, maybe more. It is going to have gas fees that are through the roof because of the way that the smart contract was created, versus, maybe you're going to go purchase an Azuki, the one that I just mentioned. That same smart contract or that same purchase, let's say that you're buying an $80,000 Azuki, the gas fee is likely going to be a lot lower because they have a more well-developed smart contract that they are publishing to the general public for us to all use on our projects as well. And so as time goes on, I think collaboration will continue, and you're going to see a more standard version of what's expected from these projects, what's expected from brands and companies as we go forward, right? Why would I, if I go to a project that's using an outdated contract right now, it's going to be very easy for me to call them on that and go, why would I want to pay an extra $300 in gas fees when you can use this other improved project's smart contract and only pay $20 in gas fees, right?
Sorry, this brings up a very interesting question that I think we bring into here is the realization that we've all talked about. There is an NFT winter on the way where we lose 90% of projects. We're now talking about community and what community projects and so on become, and are those going to be stable as we go through this period? And the other part of this is, what are the structures of projects that you think are going to survive through this NFT winter that's on its way?
Yeah, I think that something that really interests me about that, and if we're going to talk about structure and structural integrity of companies, right, of NFT projects, you have to look at how there's always a parallel to what's going on in regular companies, right? The companies that stand over time, and we can go back all the way back to the .com boom and the big bubble that burst there, and how we lost hundreds of millions of companies all within a couple month period. And what really happened there is, out of the ashes of a quote unquote, what at the time was looked at as a failed product, the internet, how many companies have come out on the other side of that and blown up into something huge? Well, there are three things that I personally look at, and of course there's a million things you can look at that, but three of those things are, first of all, innovation. Of course, we're talking about an extremely innovative space that moves so fast that, like I said before, no one can keep up with it. You're never going to be a full expert. You might be an expert, but you're not going to ever know every facet of the metaverse and Web 3.0. There's just too much moving. So the companies that innovate really quickly are the companies that are looking at what's going on in the space, going, I can improve it, I'm going to do something new. Or the companies that are looking at education, government, finance, cybersecurity, and then on the other side of things, on the consumer side of things, maybe like we're talking apparel, like Nike just bought RFTK. and companies like that are really innovating in the space really fast. Well, the second thing that I look at there is, first, they're innovating. Second, do they have structural integrity? Meaning, do they have a group of people or a team that is either A, this is their full-time job, they're fully committed to making sure this is moving forward and they're going to push for it, or B, are they backed by a large organization that has the funds and the best interest to keep their project going, right? And a good example of that is, again, going back to RFTK, they have Nike supporting them, right? And it's Nike's best interest that they just bought this company for, I think it was it wasn't disclosed the amount. They probably paid millions for it. It's in their best interest that that company doesn't fail over time. And so they're going to do what it takes to make sure that company is able to withstand this, right? That's the second part. Structure and maybe brand partnerships. The third part, and this goes back to holding people accountable. For me personally, I look at, is the team doxed? And if you don't know what doxed means, that means, has the team been revealed? Has their actual personality been revealed, right? This
doxing thing, I'd like to touch base with you here on doxing, because it's something I only learned about this week. What do you think the trends are in this, right? And what do you think they indicate?
Yeah, I think a lot of the trends have to do with, so first of all, the trend is back. It's funny. Originally, the trend was, let's all be anonymous. Then it became, well, all founders need to be doxed because they need to be held accountable. And for those who don't know what doxing means, it means revealing my personal information to the world. And now it's moving back towards anonymous again. And it's interesting to me that you have all of these projects that are trying to keep their virtual identity as the only identity that's being revealed, right? And so the only accountability you have is to maybe my Twitter account or maybe my Discord account or anything like that. But I will say that if you look at some of the larger projects, they are being doxed in a way that's verifiable. So let's talk about, again, Bored Ape Yacht Club, their owners just recently got doxed on accident because BuzzFeed decided it would be a good idea to reveal all of the owners' personalities and who they are. And in a lot of ways, and I think I might be a little controversial in saying but that was good for the community, right? Because ultimately you're talking about, right, they just got valued at like $5 billion or something along those lines. And, we're going back to the accountability side of things. BuzzFeed's point, which may hold true and valid, is who do we keep accountable for this organization that you're running, right? You have a $5 billion mega organization now. How do we keep you accountable? That's one part of things. The others, and so in my opinion, I think that it's important for, as these businesses grow and actually get real life validity from maybe general masses, you do need to have that accountability. That's why you have, everyone knows who owns Amazon. Everyone knows who owns Tesla. Everyone knows who owns Walmart, and maybe not everyone, but it's out there. It's public information. It's because we have to hold accountable the owners of these mega organizations. And so I think there's an important piece there.
We absolutely have the right. If blockchain and cryptocurrency want to advance decentralized finance, we absolutely have the right to know at the end of the day who's getting paid. And absent that, this amorphous, mysterious, who's Satoshi Nakamoto environment is not going to propel, in my view, the future of this space. If we know, I'm with you completely, Nathan, that if we know who is the founder, who's the developer, who's getting paid, who's the holder, who holds the majority of Bitcoin, who holds the minority, who gets to be paid, how do celebrities buy Bored Apes? That absolutely is our right to know, in my view. And I just stand with you there. And I support that idea of authenticity and transparency in the place. While you're talking on that point, I have to move locations. So bear with me as you see a little bit of rumbling in the background. Excuse me.
No problem. Yeah, and I think, what I think about there, and Richard, maybe this answers your question even a little bit more, is right, if there's no one to hold accountable, and here's another example of this, right? There was a project a few months ago now, and I'm not going to name the project because I don't want to give them more publicity than they need. But really what happened was we had this project and they sold out in a couple of minutes, made a couple $1 million. Their promise was, hey, we're going to donate 90% of all of our income to charities. And here are the charities we're partnered with. They didn't have a doxed founder. And about 2 hours after they sold out of Mint, that founder jumped on Twitter and he tweeted, forget charity. And he didn't use the nice word for that. Forget charity. The only charity that I care about is my bank account. Close the Twitter account, close the Discord, never to be seen again. No one can hold him accountable. He just ran off with like $1.8 million, right? And that's the risk we run if we're not holding accountable the founders of these projects, right? And the issue with NFT projects right now is, we're talking again, if we're talking about blockchain, we're talking about decentralization. Well, founders are still the figureheads and the forefront of each of these projects, right? Maybe I don't have, for projects that I own, maybe I don't own complete ownership on them, right? And I'm not, there's a DAO, and every single holder of my NFT is a stockholder, quote unquote, and they own a portion of that project. But still, I am the one making the shots and the calls. And so as long as I am not held accountable, there's nothing that holds me to fulfilling the promises that I make, right? And so, I think that we're going to see, and Shauna hit on this right on the nail right on the head, right? I think that this is the direction it has to move, because if it doesn't, then it defeats the purpose of having a fully decentralized system. Because even in a decentralized world, someone still has to be held accountable to their word and to the integrity that they need to upstand. And so, it's interesting to me when I see projects that are, if you start jumping into like the Polygon network on OpenSea, a lot of the projects there are promising, hey, we're giving a certain amount to charity, but they're all complete. And, granted, most of them are between the ages of like 14 and 18. So they're young kids. They're jumping on the platform. They're selling their own products. Nobody is verifying where they are sending that money after they receive it. And so they can claim all day long, hey, I'm giving 10 to 20% to this charity, but no one knows who they are. No one has to hold them accountable. I see that they're transferring that money to another wallet, unless I'm going to take the due diligence of following the 100 transfers back till they withdraw in USD to see if they actually give the money to a charity. Then no one knows where that money is going.
And this is really the very sad thing, because blockchain is such a fantastic advancement forward and represents so much hope for leveling out the financial structure across the world. Blockchain is amazing, but what's tainting and harming the reputation are these issues about trust when it comes to the NFT side of it. It's not the blockchain and the crypto. The crypto, we have volatility. It's not the blockchain itself. Possibly crypto relative to the volatility of the coin and its value, which we expect and hope will eventually level out. Some coins will emerge and we'll be able to focus on those. We won't have this wide array of multiple coins that we now have, and nobody knows who they belong to, what they are, where they came from, nothing. But the sad part is that with NFT projects that have gained leverage and may be authentic and may be good and may be philanthropic or maybe not, this is the piece that is, to me, very sad. It's very sad to see this sort of environment, an early environment of uncertainty and distrust in what was supposed to have been a system organized in the beginning that removed that uncertainty. It was supposed to be a across the board, visible, trackable unit of exchange this is why we called it blockchain, right? It was a block of data that was you could trust between nodes, you could trust between partners, and you knew that what was in that block of data was reliable information. So this is the piece that I find so sad, but I'm interested if I could just take a little bit of a turn in light of the time we have. I can't believe we only have 20 minutes left. Is I want to talk with you about, it's very challenging in this rapidly expanding space to offer a presence. And it's even more so challenging to offer a presence in light of this opposition that now exists in the space about what's good and what's not good and what's worthwhile and what's not worthwhile. And should I trust NFTs? Should I not? Will there be an NFT winter? Will crypto tank? Will blockchain tank? What's going to happen if we go to war? Blah, blah, blah. So when you take a look at celebrities who are positioning themselves with certain NFTs, or let's just even step away from NFTs for a moment and talk about siloed metaverses, small M's, which I'm talking about Decentraland, Sandbox, Superworld, Crypto Voxels. What do you make of the positioning that's happening there? And what would you advise when Richard does buy his Bored Ape, and he buys one for both you and I, Nathan? What should we do? How should we position ourselves when we have this valuable utility in our hands? How does one navigate that positioning?
Yeah, and are we, and just to be clear, are we talking on the social side of things, or are you more talking about maybe the financial and
I
everything that
think
comes
more
with
on
that?
the social side of things, engaging the community, like Richard annotated earlier, engaging the community, using the utility to continue to promote your business interests, be those mainstream like Nike or Coca-Cola, or be those small mom and pop, Joe's Pizzeria. How does one best capitalize? They've made the investment, they've taken the leap. They have the NFT. It's a wanted and valuable entity. How does one use that utility to advance their cause, their name, their reputation, their enterprise, whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there are a few aspects to that I want to hit on, right? The first is, if you've invested in, let's say you invested in a Bored Ape or even a smaller project, right? Maybe you invested in a Doodles, which is another good project to think about, which is a lower barrier to entry in the expense side of things, right? What's happening in the space is everything, as I alluded to earlier, is so incredibly community-based, and there's validity to owning successful projects, right? We're talking about, maybe we have a Bored Ape Yacht Club. And if you look on Twitter right now, you will likely see in a lot of these owners, either in their avatar, they're using their Bored Ape Yacht Club, but mostly in their bio, it says owner of CryptoPunk number whatever, owner of Bored Ape Yacht Club number 254, owner of Doodle number 9,872, because they're building on I got in early on this. I have the clout of owning an extremely expensive NFT, but I also have validity because I've made good investments in projects that have returns, right? So they're growing their accounts really fast. And if you want to talk about, marketing on that side of things and how to leverage that, right? We have to talk about a Bored Ape Yacht Club member just decided to do his own cannabis line. And all it is it's his little pack of cannabis. He put a Bored Ape Yacht Club sticker on top of it. It's likely going to sell very well. And maybe some of us are like, why does that matter that it's from Bored Ape Yacht Club? Well, he has the clout of being a Bored Ape Yacht Club member. And so he's able to sell this because in the spirit of community, these communities are supporting each other very aggressively, right? And so, if I'm a Bored Ape Yacht Club member and I want to do a new business project, I am likely able to get multiple other of the members of that Bored Ape Yacht Club to jump on my project and give validity to it, including those people who have clout, right? The famous people who own them, maybe other business owners, maybe other investors. It is a way for businesses to grow really fast. Now, as far as community goes, though, and going back to that, two of the strongest places to be active on are Twitter and Discord. Twitter, for one, has been just really, really trumping any other space as far as NFTs go. It's just like everyone's active there. There are giveaways happening. There are announcements happening. There's news happening. There are conversations happening on Twitter. Part of that is the Twitter Spaces, which for LinkedIn, I'm excited that we're now talking about audio rooms where we can do the same thing as a Twitter Space. In fact, they're a bit, they've already released their 300 first people who are able to have access to that. There have been some tests on LinkedIn already. And so, I project that that's going to come in the next couple of months because they have to keep up with the space that's going on. Now, Twitter gives the unique opportunity for, and anyone who's in marketing will know this, it is a social media platform that has a lot more speed than anywhere else, right? In talking in digital marketing terms, I might post once a day consistently on LinkedIn, once a day consistently on Instagram, probably posting 3 to 7 times on Twitter every single day. That's just the way that Twitter works. Now, to parallel that to the quick moving space that we talked about earlier, right? If you have a quick moving space, you need news fast. And so Twitter is the perfect place for that. It's moving really quickly. I'm getting all the news I need. I'm able to follow the projects that I want to follow really fast. I'm able to find Discords to get into faster than anywhere else. And then when you move over to Discord, right, it's the community building platform. Now, this is a unique opportunity for businesses because I think that a lot of us equate Discord to a video game, it's for the younger generation type place. Well, in reality, it is a chat room where I can make announcements directly to my own universe, my own, in marketing terms, my own audiences. I can make direct interactions with them on a regular basis. I can jump into voice calls with them at a moment's notice. I can do giveaways. I can do sneak peeks of new upcoming ideas and projects. It really acts as a hub for building communities, right? I would even go as far as to say, I would prefer as a business owner to have 100,000 Discord members than to have 1 million Instagram or LinkedIn followers. That's
Really?
the
Wow.
reality for me. And part of that is the people who are in my Discord are active, right? They're super active. You think about a text message and right, what are the open rates on SMS? Open rates on SMS are like anywhere between 70 to 90%, depending on the campaign you're doing. Everyone's looking at it. All of us check our phones. Discord is on the phone. It's on the computer. It gets notifications to my phone. It's a chat room to interact with people. It's a place for me to give announcements. It almost defeats the purpose of doing a text campaign or an email campaign, right? I can directly announce and notify and ping every single person that's in that Discord of what's going on with my company or with what's going on with my project, right? And so, it's really interesting to me that businesses are now finally figuring out what that looks like and what form that takes for them. A lot of them are surrounding that NFT project space, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there can't be businesses there, right? And you'll see that with a lot of, it's also a space where there's a lot of like stock advisors and paid communities and things like that are happening on YouTube and maybe some on LinkedIn as well. But it's interesting to me that things are moving the way they are on both Discord and Twitter, and I think that businesses need to take advantage of that. I think that if you have an opportunity to connect directly with the consumer and customers that you want to connect with, Discord's the place to do it. In the metaverse or outside of it, really. And so that's something that's been moving pretty rapidly in the space. And you're seeing every day. If you browse Twitter for a few minutes, you'll see there are Discords going from 0 to 60,000 members within the matter of an hour, within a matter of 24 hours. There are Discords that are going from 60,000 to 200,000 in the matter of a week, right? And so now you have a active community all on a Discord where you have access to them. You're able to communicate with them. They can ask you questions. You can host AMAs. You can host live streams exactly like this.
So I have to ask, what mechanism is allowing for that level of explosive growth? I mean, I grew my Instagram. It took me about 18 months to put on 18,000 followers on Instagram, and that was full-time work. I was working my ass off to do that. Now you're saying the mechanisms that's able to grow community now can do 60,000 in a night?
And just to interject, Richard's Instagram is beautiful. It shows his photography from all his world travels, and you should definitely see it. What is the address, Richard?
It's just my name. It's Richard M. Morant. So just
right.
Go
visit that. If you need a link, we'll put it in the chat. Sorry, Nathan,
Sure.
Go ahead.
No problem. Yeah, I think the mechanism that's working there, again, I have to go back to Twitter and the congruency that it has with Discord directly, right? And what's happening on Twitter is in the space, and let's call it that pre-winter, like everything is getting really hyped really quickly. Well, what we have to think about what is in the NFT space, what is the benefit of it, right? The benefit to me is, as a consumer, I can purchase a product, this NFT that gives me utilities and properties and tax, all of these different things that I get access to because I own this NFT. But I'm also able to, when I'm done with that, resell the NFT. And, I'm able to maybe make money on the initial investment that I've had. And so not only am I getting a payback from it, I'm also able to financially gain in the long term, right? So maybe for me,
that's really surprising. That's really surprising for me to hear you say, because earlier you shared with us that you had purchased Bitcoin when you were younger, and then you resold it at like $8 a token, and now you probably want to just jump off a lake somewhere, jump off a bridge. But I'm so glad you're not, Nathan, because we need you here. It surprises me to hear you say that your interest in NFT came out of that experience. I almost anticipate you saying, "No, I want to buy and I want to hold," because the space is so young and so new, and we don't really fully understand the implications. Let me be, twice burned, once shy type thing. Once burned, twice shy. I think it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that you've hit some interesting points there, and I think a big part of that is right, and again, I have another use case story of this, right? There is a huge possibility of, yes, massive growth, but if you aren't doing your due diligence, and remember, we're talking about accountability here. So if you don't trust a company, at the very least right now, and again, for everyone listening, this is not financial advice, but if you don't trust the business or the company that's supporting an NFT or upholding it, a lot of people are buying it at mint, right? I'm buying it at a discounted price, knowing that I can immediately flip. That's a reality of the space. For a creator, as the creator, or maybe as the artist, that's still an important part of what's going on in the space. Because for me, right, OpenSea gives me up to 10% of all secondary sales. So in fact, I do want people who are diehard, like, I'm going to own this project. I want all the utilities. I'm going to keep this no matter what happens, and I want to see where it goes. I want those types of people, but I also want the people who are, I just bought 10 of them at the floor price, and I'm going to double them within a month and sell all of them, because as the creator, it actually puts money back in my pocket. It also puts money back in the DAO and into the project. And so it's actually beneficial for the whole ecosystem, because we need those people who are trying to flip and who are trying to sell in order to, how does Bored Ape get from, I think if you track it back, it minted at like $70 8 months ago, 9 months ago. How is it that the cheapest one now is $250,000? Well, you needed the people who were going to flip it. You had to. And of course, I can always speculate that a project is going to blow up, but there's a chance that it doesn't, right? I had a friend of mine who I was helping him get into the NFT space. We purchased a NFT for him. He pulled a really rare one. number 46 out of 10,000 on the rarity ranking. And that NFT itself was probably worth 5 Ethereum, which is right now probably around 15,000. He might have been able to even get like 10 Ethereum for it or more because of how the movement was going at the time. And we advised him to sell it because, as we all know as investors, money is not realized until it's back in my bank account, right? I could have Ethereum all day long and I could say to you, I've profited hundreds of thousands of dollars, but until I actually withdraw that, it's not a profit, right? And so for him, he's looking at it going, I have a $15,000 to $30,000 NFT. It might get to $60,000. It might get to $100,000. So I'm going to hold on to it. Well, as of market cap this morning, his NFT is maybe worth $1,000. And that was on his decision to hold on to it and not sell it when it was actually worth a lot of money. And so, I think there's both facets to that, right? I own projects that I'm really hyped on, and I think that they have a really solid foundation, and I'm going to hold on to them because I think that there's longevity to it. But I also own projects where I'm literally trying to do a flip on a daily basis, where I buy it and now I'm trying to sell it. And I do both of those things.
You're doing that on a daily basis?
Probably more like on a weekly basis, but yes, as much as I possibly can with what I have. So.
What?
So I'd just like to, we have a beautiful question that I'd just like to go back to a little bit.
Yeah.
And where Shalani has brought in, as we were talking about, particularly like Discord and Twitter and what we're doing in the media, I know we've spoken before about bots, and I know that bots are an integral part of things like Discord. Where do you see the role of bots in marketing and these kind of outreaches as we go further forward? Thank you, Shalani.
Great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. Especially on Discord, and to answer that question, especially on Discord, it almost requires us to have bots. In fact, every server I'm a part of has a Discord bot, if not multiple Discord bots. And so what's happening here is there are 3 ways that bots are really being integrated into Discord servers. One, you have maybe the entertainment bots. They have been around since Discord was around. Those are the bots that play music for you. Those are the bots that play videos. They allow us to play games in the chat rooms. That's one type of bot, and that is maybe not as important. The other 2 are super important. One is verification, because an issue in the space right now is people botting the purchase of mints. And so, if I created a bot system to purchase 100 of one type of project, knowing that I'm going to be able to flip it, that's an issue, because as a project owner, I want real people owning my NFTs, right? So that's one part of it. So, and that's the verification bot. It verifies that you're an actual human. We're talking about CAPTCHAs, but we're talking about it at scale. Discord requires you to have a verified email, a verified phone number, and then on top of it, my bot is making you do a CAPTCHA. And so now you have to do a whole system. It makes it very difficult to get bots into the server. And you'll see a lot of projects have bot banned counters where they count how many bots they banned over the last couple of weeks. And some of them have like 100,000 bots that they've banned because they're trying to avoid the issues of fake mint and what we talked about earlier of signing those contracts and people losing money. On the other side of things, you have the bots now that are verifying people's public wallet, right? And so what that means is, say that, Richard, you bought a Bored Ape, because we've been using them as an example. You would go into the Discord server, you would type in your public wallet, the one that everyone has access to, so there's no danger in doing it, the one that you're supposed to share. You type that in, and that bot verifies, it looks through your wallet to say, does Richard in fact own a Bored Ape? And if you do, then it opens up more channels to you to have access to. You have channels where you have access to talk to everyone else who owns one. You have channels where you have access to the event information for just the owners, and things like that. That is where botting is making sense on the Discord side of things. Now on Twitter, on Instagram, we're seeing a surgence of issues with fake clout again. And so this is on the negative side of botting, right? People are buying followers, people are buying likes, people are buying retweets, and buying comments so that it looks like these projects have a lot of people in it. People are purchasing fake bot Discord accounts to come into their Discord so that maybe, again, using you as an example, Richard, maybe you get a message from a project that you think looks really cool. You look at their Twitter, it looks like they're super active. It looks like they have 200,000 followers. You go on their Discord, it looks like they have 70,000 Discord members. I'm going to purchase that NFT because there's clout behind it. It looks like I have a resale value. It might have some value in it in the utilities. That's an issue because the reality of it is it's fake. It's all fake. And so there's both negatives and positives on that bot role on these medias. And, you can look at things at both sides of things. And, we could talk about AI and how there are AI NFTs now, and that's purely botted, right? And there are bots that are doing purchasing and selling. They're doing flips. There's a lot of bots in the system right now. And I think that's the reality of living in a world that's moving towards AI in the first place. But hopefully that answers your question, Shalani, and
absolutely does.
and yours as well.
And you did such a great job. Yes, such a great job. You were really informative tonight. Do me a favor, put in the chat, if you would, how people can get a hold of you. And then, Richard, if you would also add in the chat your beautiful Instagram page, then people can connect to both of those links. We're just so appreciative of my guest tonight, Nathan Klingseis, out of Los Angeles, who specializes in marketing and branding and promoting and leveraging and being in this space. He obviously has a well-rounded vocabulary and a well-rounded and broad based understanding of the space. And so we would welcome you to reach out to Nathan as you're trying to move through how to do an NFT or how to promote yourself or how to promote your business. And let's see, is there anything that I might have left out before we close?
A quick one, a simple one. If
Yes.
you guys haven't joined the group of Metaverse News Network, come and join us on LinkedIn. We're there, we're growing, we're strong. Come and play.
Yes, thank you, Richard. And then also, do you both know what is happening next week?
We're here again.
Next week, Nathan, we have our very first, after, what's this, our 16th episode, Richard?
This is episode 16 tonight. So
Episode
tonight is
16
episode
tonight,
16.
featuring Nathan Klingseis. But on episode 17, we will have our very first female blockchain crypto expert, Micah, from the Global Blockchain Council. We are so excited to promote women in this space. Nathan, do you talk to a lot of women? Do you see a lot of women in your practice? Or is it mostly men?
It would be mostly men, but I will say there are some very strong women to be looking out for in this space.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are.
excited
But
for
you
it.
know, the truth is that not one of us can do it alone, right? We all need each other. So we're so thankful to you. I'm so thankful to Richard, and I'm glad that he's feeling better and has returned back to Oklahoma in one piece. I pray that tomorrow is warmer in California for us and that we can go back to our short sleeves and shorts and skirts. And we just want to say to everyone, have a beautiful evening. Look forward to sharing more with you very shortly. And thank you again, Nathan. We really appreciate your time and your counsel. And you did a great job here tonight. Thank you.
Of course. Appreciate you having me on. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.